Did you know that Bjorn Ironside of the TV series Vikings was a legendary Norse hero? Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about the legendary Viking warrior Bjorn Ironside. Don't forget the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out on any new uploads. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation who is now on Patreon. Patreon is a brilliant site that offers exclusive benefits to those who subscribe. Your support helps us create videos twice a week, so make sure to check it out via the link in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. You may know him from the TV series Vikings, but Bjorn Ironside is a legendary Viking known from the medieval stories of raiding alongside his father Ragnar Lothbrok and his brothers, with the most well-known being Ivar the Boneless, Hvitserk and Sigurd Snake in the Eye. The legends of Bjorn and his family are all set in the 9th century CE, but the three sources he is known from the best were all written in the 13th century, hundreds of years after the alleged facts. These sources are the saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, the tale of Ragnar's sons, in which he is the son of Ragnar and Aslog, and Saxo Grammaticus's Gesta Danorum, where his parents are Ragnar and Thora. It seems that his epithet of Ironside is quite literal and refers to the strength of his sides. The adventures of Bjorn and his brothers take them all over from Scandinavia to Anglo-Saxon England, and in some to Normandy, the Frankish kingdoms, and Lombardy. What none of the sources mention about Bjorn are whether he had any wives or the manner of his death. Much like the rest of Bjorn's family, Bjorn Ironside may be inspired by one or even multiple famous Vikings from the 9th century, and his life and heroic story is one of legend rather than history. So let's have a look at what the three main sources for Bjorn Ironside say about him and his legendary life. The saga of Ragnar Lothbrok is both the main source and the best known for the legend of Ragnar and his sons. In this saga, Bjorn's mother is Aslog, who is the daughter of Sigurd, the heroic dragon slayer, and Brynhild, the legendary Valkyrie from Norse and Germanic mythology. At 3 years old, Aslog loses her noble parents, and so she grows up with a poor family who name her Kraka, or Crow, and her parentage is kept a secret. Meanwhile, Bjorn's father Ragnar, who is the son of King Sigurd, king of Denmark, rids a town of a pesky dragon and as a reward gets to marry the daughter of the Jarl of the town, Thora. Ragnar and Thora have 2 children, who are Bjorn's older half-brothers, Eirik and Agnar, before Thora dies an untimely death. While Ragnar is on a raiding trip along the Norwegian coast, he meets Kraka and whisks her away to be his wife, both for her quick wit and her beauty. Together they have 5 sons, Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Hvitserk and Ragnvald, and later in the tale Sigurd Snake in the Eye. With Ivar in charge of planning and strategizing, and both Bjorn and Hvitserk leading the brothers in battle prowess, they all often went out adventuring and raiding together. On one of the raids, Ragnvald is cut down and dies, but the brothers are still victorious, and as they turn back to the town of Viterberg, Bjorn says, "Our blades bit more than theirs. Our battle cry was raised. I must tell this truly. There on the Nipperfjord, let every man who'd like to, lads, don't spare your swords now. Become before Viterberg the bane of a foeman." On their adventures, the brothers head to Sweden to avenge the deaths of their half-brothers, Eirik and Agnar, who were killed by its king. When Bjorn and his brothers land on the shore of Sweden, they burn and pillage everything in sight, and they kill everyone who stands in their way. The king has a magical cow that moves so horribly that it makes the enemy force fight between itself, but even it was no match for the brothers who killed the king and then went south. They wanted to get to Rome, but only got as far as the town called Luni or Luna before they turned right back around. Ragnar then gets a bit too big for his boots and reckons he can invade England with only 2 ships, but instead is captured by King Aelle of Northumbria and meets his end in a pit full of snakes. Ragnar's death is avenged by his sons, who sail to England and kill Ayla by performing a form of torture known as the Blood Eagle. Also recorded in the late 13th century, early 14th century is the Icelandic work The Tale of Ragnar's Sons. The major difference between this saga and the previous one is, as the title suggests, that this saga goes into more details surrounding Bjorn and his brothers, especially after the death of Ragnar. The brothers thought that just killing Ayla wasn't enough and he deserved to be tortured instead. But it is now believed that the method of torture, the Blood Eagle, is a fictitious addition to this tale, even though Ayla is a historical figure. From torturing Ayla to raiding and pillaging, the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok travel far and wide, from England to Normandy and Lombardy, as well as the region that is modern-day France. Just as in the previous saga, the brothers only got as far as Luni, since Rome was just too far away for them to get to. The lands of Ragnar are divided, with Bjorn Ironside receiving Uppsala and central Sweden, and he spends his time raiding in France, then heading back to his kingdom. From there, he isn't mentioned again, and the manner of his death is unknown. The third source about Ragnar, which has Bjorn playing a clear part, is the Gesta Danorum, or Deeds of the Danes. The Gesta Danorum was written probably in the early 13th century by Saxo Grammaticus, and unlike the previous two sagas that were written in Old Norse, this one was written in Latin. Two wives of Ragnar are mentioned by Saxo that were not previously mentioned, and these are the shield maiden Lagertha and a woman named Swanloga. Saxo completely omits Bjorn's mother from the previous two sagas, Aslaug, and instead it is implied that his mother is Thora. Saxo also adds in some more brothers for Bjorn, and their mothers are all changed up a bit, with Bjorn's full brothers being Sigurd Snake in the Eye, known as Siward, Agnar, Ivar, and two new additions, Ragbard and Dunwart, and his half-brothers being Friedleif by Lagertha, Uba by an unnamed woman, as well as Ragnvald, known as Ragnald, Fitzurk, and Eirik by Swanloga. Bjorn and his brothers assist their father in his raids across Scandinavia, and Bjorn's epithet is explained that the strength of his sides were like iron, which he gained from slaughtering his foe without being injured. When Uba, one of Bjorn's half-brothers, comes to him looking for support in his plan to usurp their father, Bjorn refuses to support him over his most righteous father. Saxo also described Ragnar's ill-fated and big-headed trip into England, which ended with his death in a snake pit. When Bjorn hears of his father's death, he is ready for vengeance, and with Sigurd, they take a fleet of 400 ships and declare war on Ayla. They capture the king, cut a figure of an eagle into Ayla's back, rub salt in the wound, and kill him. After their victory in England, Bjorn heads back home and isn't mentioned again. As noted, the sources for Ragnar and his Viking sons were all written in the 13th century CE, and although there are some historical details, like King Ayla, much of it was inspired by legends from the pinnacle of the Viking Age in the 9th century. The major characters were all featured in the popular television series Vikings, which ran from 2013 to 2020, in which Bjorn Ironside was played by the Canadian actor Alexander Ludwig. Although the series indulged in some creative license, the story of Bjorn, his brothers, and his hero father was more or less faithfully presented as given in the medieval legends. Any changes to the tales were in keeping with the famous tradition of Norse oral narratives of never allowing fact, even alleged fact, to get in the way of telling a great story. Did you watch the Vikings TV series? Who was your favourite character? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos every Tuesday and Friday. This video was brought to you by World History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. If you like my shirt, you can find this design and a bunch more on our shop at worldhistory.store, or you can find a link to it under the merch tab in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon with another video.